Welcome to the podcast where we take a deep dive into the stories behind construction business leaders. We will share how they got started, how they found success, and the lessons learned along the way. I'm your host, Eric Fortenberry. Welcome to Builder Stories. Welcome, everyone. I am here with Kevin Choquette, the owner of Ravin Builders, based in Richmond, Rhode Island. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
What's up, Eric? Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. You're a busy one, hard to nail down.
Well, being busy is it's not the worst thing these days, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. So why don't you kind of give us a little background, who you are, what you guys do, give us the 411 there.
Sure. All right. So I'm the owner of Ravin Builders. We're based in Southern Rhode Island. We are niche deck and outdoor living building company. We primarily work just on the coastline of Southern Rhode Island. Pretty small radius. We have a very specific project and client that we have in mind when we go out looking for work. And we've been able to expand on the type of projects that we build over the last couple of years since niching down. So really, when I joined JobTread was really the beginning of my journey niching down. I come from an area that is very much populated by building and renovation companies that kind of do a little bit of everything. A lot of the same companies will build garages, do remodel, do new construction, build decks, do outdoor living, that kind of thing. And it really kind of opened my eyes by traveling to some trade shows, some events, and kind of just seeing how the rest of the country operates. And it was extremely shiny to me to think about niching my company down to kind of target a more specific type of project and more specific tools and equipment and really more specific training, right? Like if we talk from like a scalability vision, is the less type of scope that we have to carry it out, the easier it is to train, the easier it is to scale, the easier it is to organize, right? So this is really the end of year 2 of us niching down. And JobTread's really been there for the whole process. We kind of signed with them at the very start of us transitioning out of all those other scopes. We were building a new construction home. We were still kind of carrying out a lot of other projects that were already in our books. But really, it's been a journey niching down because I'd say that I come from a position where I never really had to look for work. I never really had to market my company. I've had a long-standing name in my area, just in the trades in general, and have a lot of contacts. And it was a big change of pace for us to decide to niche down, because once you're targeting a specific job, a specific client, it takes a lot of marketing support and a lot of salesmanship to create that stream of revenue versus when you're willing to kind of do a little bit of everything to keep everybody busy. Yeah. So it's been a challenge, but it's been really rewarding.
Yeah, awesome, man. I think it was like in early or middle of 2021 we met at the International Pool Spa and Deck Expo in Dallas, actually, right?
Is that 2 years ago, man? November of 21. So we just saw each other at Vegas.
Yep.
Last month, and that was the 2-year anniversary from our decision to niche down. And I have to say that because it was a process, right? We had to put a new marketing plan in place. We had to really start at that point, we started turning down other forms of work, but we were still building new construction homes and really had a lot of other coals in the fire that we had to let cycle out as we kind of started this journey as being a niche builder. But yeah, so 2 years, and the company is 3 years old. So we're not an old company, but I've been very established in this vicinity in the trades for a long time. So we had a head start when it came to opening this brand. Yeah.
Well, I'm always curious, and I like to ask. So, I mean, how did you get into construction in the first place? Like, what led you to pick up a hammer and start building, and what inspired that for you?
Yeah, so my dad was a builder. There was always kind of something there. Like I can remember when I was like really young, just like hanging on the, going to work with dad, hanging on the job sites.
Yeah.
Really, it wasn't though until when I was about 15 or 16 years old, I started working with a guy that I rode motocross with. And he brought me to work and, taught me how to nail on cedar sidewall shingles and was paying me $200 a day cash.
Hmm.
So this was in the late 90s, right?
No.
Early 2000s. I was making 200 a day cash nailing on cedar shingles, and I enjoyed it. And we were blasting out sidewalls, and really, I kind of like when someone asked me when I made the decision, I think that's when I made the decision. And I was really smart. I was not good in high school. Um, the classes that they didn't make me do homework, I got straight A's, aced every test they ever gave me.
Yeah.
The ones that I had to do the work on the outside, or, um, I would fail them, right? Because I really just I didn't jive with it. I wasn't willing, I was more into the technical stuff. I was, so it was clear for me, like when they gave me the opportunity to, so I'm a high school dropout, right? When they gave me the opportunity to take the GED, I took it, aced it, got my high school diploma at 16 years old, and I went to work. That was the decision I made. And by the time I was 18 years old, I was a registered contractor in the state of Rhode Island.
Hmm.
And I mean that was 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So the last 20 years I haven't always been self-employed. I've taken some roles. The work was never my weak suit. It was always the management, really just having that bigger vision, and I did a lot of subcontractor work, and I had some really great employment roles in that time. So like when I was in my early 20s, I worked for a custom home builder that built, I mean, we built $5 million homes one after another,
Nice.
and up, so I'm lucky in the fact that I had to have those opportunities where I was in really good places to learn
Sure.
a wide range of experience, from small commercial, multifamily, custom, high-end custom residential, and really up to where a decade ago I had a bad shoulder injury in the field, and I exited the field,
Hmm.
which is something I thought I would never do. And I went into a management role in residential construction. And throughout that process, I worked my way up the ladder a little bit into a senior role. And I really learned a lot about systems and processes and technology and implementing that and really just harnessing the technological side of construction that I never really leveraged as
Sure.
a builder, as a foreman, as a superintendent. Um, so really, you fast forward to when I decided to open this business, and the way it happened was I had a side business.
Hmm.
So I was still in that management role, and I was managing other smaller projects for local investors on the side.
Yeah.
And COVID hit and things changed, right? The business I was in um, relied heavily on non-performing loans and assets being
Hmm.
brought into our inventory for us to remodel them and rent them or sell them or whatever that. So it was single family real estate, right? And
Yeah.
when COVID hit, everything just see you later, right? We stopped getting assets. I had to start laying off our team. And that's when this company was born, right? I said, we're busy enough. Why am I going to sit here and wait? I got a severance, and we opened this firm. So, I mean, 3 years, but
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be back in the field. I really am. A lot of people will tell you if you are a construction business owner, you have to get out of the field. You have to hire, you have to do the estimating, you have to manage the books, you have to do all that. And for me, I wanted to get away from that. That's
Yep.
all I was doing. All I wanted to do was put my bags back on. So what I've done is I've put those systems and processes and tasks in other people's hands.
So how's yeah?
Hired a
Tell us
bookkeeper,
how the business is structured. Yeah, who do you have on your team now?
hired a bookkeeper, hired an accountant, hired Cody, who is our project manager, and she does the sales. So I don't go on sales calls anymore. I don't manage the construction processes. I run operations,
Yeah,
right? So when it comes to operations, that's my thing. Once the job gets sold, gets put in, we call them out, we put them in pre-construction, and then we go out and we build those projects. So really, that's what I enjoy doing.
yeah.
So that's what I'll say to other business owners when they're kind of like bullied by guys that tell them, you have to do this, you have to do that, this is what you have to do to be successful. But take it from a guy who's been in those high level roles that I was miserable.
Yeah. No, I mean, I see it all the time. It's, I think the key is that you've got somebody who's going to focus on the business side and then somebody who's going to focus on, delivering the product and service. As long as you got both sides of the house covered, and as the business owner, you get the luxury of deciding what do you want to focus on? Like what is going to make you excited and passionate, man. And
Right.
you're one of the most talented deck builders I've ever seen. So like, for you, it makes total sense that you'd want to be on the operations, making sure that you're, getting the best, quality deck built for every single customer. You got a rock star. Cody is phenomenal.
Oh
She
yeah.
she does a great job managing, the sales and kind of the business side of the house from what I've seen. So, that's awesome that you've kind of figured out what's going to make you tick and where you can do the best possible job. And you've brought in others to surround yourself to help kind of get everything at the business level taken care of.
Yeah. It's a serious task to train a team to
Sure.
build as if I built the project,
Yeah.
right? And we talk about that where like, to have a business where you can just leave and go on vacation and you don't have to worry about a thing. And listen, that's incredible, right? And I do envy that to in a moment, right? Where I
Yeah.
say I wish I could just throw it, but you know, I travel 6 or 7 times a year, and my guys build these projects. Now, some of the projects require me to be on site at certain moments, right?
Sure.
But it's a process, like this business, we've been niched for 2 years. This is going to take time to really build those processes out, where I can't just write this down tomorrow, hand it to the boys, and say, all right, this is yours now,
Yeah.
because I'm no longer offering the value that is what we built our company on,
Yeah.
right? I bring a lot of value to our projects that is just required for what we're selling. We're selling that dream, right? That we're going to build the best looking project we possibly can, be the most creative with it that we can with the space that you have. And we're going to be there improving upon our process at all times. Like
Sure.
we're never settling. We're never cutting corners. We're really like engaged in value engineering and just trying to make it better all the time. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's going to be some time, but I will say that we've grown so much, not in size, but in value in a really short period of time. And I almost fear sometimes that we're growing too fast, right? And not like we're scaling to, because we're never going to scale to 10 crews, that's not what we're looking to do here. We're very boutique, we're very niche. We're not trying, I'm not trying to scale a conglomerate East Coast deck building company. That's not what we're looking to do here. But we are trying to scale our project values, right? And I know, like, I've talked to your team about this, that we never, I mean, year one of us niching down, our average project was less than $40,000.
Hmm.
Year two, our average project was $160,000.
Wow. That's
Do you know what I mean?
yeah, that's
So
a huge jump.
the beginning of this season, we had, we had three projects over multiple six-figure values,
Hmm.
and it was almost an issue where the small ones can be really profitable and they're a lot easier to schedule, you know?
Yep.
So it's almost an issue where like, where did all these small ones go? Why can't we, we're losing all of the $20,000 projects. And we're getting, because we built a name for ourselves that we're the ones that can build the craziest project that you can think of.
Yeah.
The biggest, highest, just, most treacherous footing conditions or whatever it is, like we can handle it. So a lot of people ask me like how that's probably the most common question I get is like how we started getting those bigger projects.
Yeah.
And it's almost it's a simple answer because we started building bigger projects and
Yeah.
we photograph and we show our work. And we have local SEO and we have social media, and that's how you get bigger projects. Because if a person is looking at your website and they're looking at websites of four other deck builders, and your site is all these, at least just your cover, right? Like your opening homepage is like the biggest project that you've done, then that's what they see. Boom. And then the other guy's like an 8x12 pressure treated in his photo roll.
Yeah.
So if they're trying to build this massive project, who do you think they're going to call?
Yeah. Well, so I'm curious. I mean, how did you realize and decide that you wanted to niche down and instead of doing the full, home builds and like how did you
Yeah.
choose to kind of just narrow it down to decks? Because I mean, I think that was a really smart move on your part, and obviously you've done a great job building, a name and a reputation for yourself. But like, how did you originally figure out that you needed to do that?
So we didn't do it out of necessity for sure. Like I feel like I did it out of convenience originally. Like the original thought was, okay, decks are 30% of our project scopes and 50% of our revenue,
Yep.
right? So I saw that there was a higher margin in our jobs from the previous year. I knew that. I'm always tracking projects, tracking, costing to an extent of like immediate margins, like
Yeah.
even by the day, scope by scope, right? We're always looking at really where our weak points are and where our strong points are. And for us, decks were a strong point, and there was a lot of weak points in some of the other scopes that we were taking on. And the guys that I had working for me enjoyed it. I enjoy it. And I also, part of being a contractor is being like a professional moving company and a professional cleaning company. There's so much that goes into carrying out an enormous amount of different scopes, all the tools required,
Yeah.
materials, like you finish these projects and you just have bins and bins and bins of just random everything unreturnable, like it's extremely hard to stay organized when you have a truck full of light switches, drywall, and deck boards. It's
Yeah.
hard. And the other thing was that on our outdoor living projects deck, and we weren't even doing hardscape back then, there was such a specific list of subcontractors that I need. The most being just the electrician, you know?
Oh,
In some projects, we don't need any, but really a little bit of plumbing, a little bit of maybe gas, a little bit of electrical. Other than that, we control the projects.
yeah.
We install our own helical piles. We do our own designs. We rarely pay an engineer because we design everything within code and within manufacturer specs. The most engineering we do is on engineered lumber, and we get that for free from the lumber company, you know?
Hmm.
So we've just really taken a lot of other people that we used to have to rely on that would let us down over and I mean good people too,
Yeah.
that could just never stick to a schedule, never complete on time, and that was really when I came from my senior management role, that was what it was. The end of every month, trying to hit numbers, nobody coming through, wanting to jump off a bridge every single month. And I don't
Yeah.
want to live like that. I like being in control.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
And
know, I want to have the customer's experience directly correlated with our ability to build a project, to
sure.
show up every day at 6:45, to leave every day at 3:30, you know, to really spend the time talking with them when they're on site, and explaining and keeping them in the loop and really just showing up every day until the project's finished.
Yeah.
Like that's what we do, And I by removing all of those other random scopes, it just makes it so much easier to do that. So that was part of it. Like a lot of it is convenience for me, but the one of the big ones was that when I met you in Dallas. So I had been throwing this around for a couple of months. What would happen, right? If we just niche down, if we said this is all we're going to do, because I figured we get plenty of decks. If I looked for them, I could find more.
Yeah.
So I went to Dallas to Deck Expo, was not a member of Nadra yet, did not know any of these guys in the niche. I didn't know any. I mean, all of these guys that I communicate with regularly and know their families, and we go to events and we travel and really talk regularly, like 30 contractors out there I'm really close with around the country, right? I didn't know any of them.
Wow.
So I started meeting some of these guys in Dallas, and I said, this is for us. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to make my home. Was the community in deck building and outdoor living is
Yeah.
incredible. I mean, it's strong. It's like nothing else I've ever experienced in any other trade.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, again, I'm sitting there kind of right there with you, seeing just all the collaboration and how like, it's just there's such like a camaraderie where, people are genuinely wanting to help each other,
Yeah,
elevate their business, like from learning, techniques and actual, kind of building to the business side. Like, you and I have been out at several events. I mean, Ashley's had several events where I saw you, and I mean, hell, you were teaching me how to, put down boards and build decks, and just being able to have like such a cool, learning environment where
yeah,
everyone's helping each other. And it's like even the best of the best are there, learning new techniques too, and like showing
really.
others how to, become better builders. Like you really don't see that very often. And I can't say I've seen any other, type of builds, the decking industry is where where that's at.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really good example is we're building a Fortress Steel right now. So when I built my first Fortress Steel, it was a complete monster, right? It was a giant project, like 2,800 feet of steel, full wraparound, second story. I mean, it was just a monster. We had like 24-foot quarter-inch steel posts in the back. It
Yeah.
it was just like, and I'd never touched steel besides in Dallas when I put together a small set of stairs with wood bully for the camera, right? I'd
Yeah.
really never touched it. And where did I get my information to make me feel comfortable before I started that project and while I was building that project? From other builders,
Yeah.
guys that I have a relationship with that build with steel all the time, lent me an ear for anything I needed. And really like kind of put me on at when while I was building to say, like, dude, you're already taking this to another level. Like, no ego, right? But like, man, like just so impressed with the way that we were building and like the way that we were using the product and like how clean it was coming out. Like a guy that's been building steel frames and only steel frames for a decade and like now owns a manufacturing company, like was like, dude, it's really hard to make steel look that clean. Like you guys knocked that thing out of the park.
Nice.
But like it's all like none of us are in competition with each other. It's very much a camaraderie and like a community,
Yeah.
you know? So I kind of, I mean, I didn't know how deep we were going to get into that and how these relationships were going to build, but like it's just something that I really never had in the trades outside of my local community.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the local community stuff will be more in competition, but you know, social media has been a big part of our business and um it's grown a lot. So, you know, that is my other task. I manage operations and I run projects and the other thing that I do is I run our social media campaigns. I don't Nobody else touches the social besides me. I do, you know, everything from daily story posts to creating content. I post on 5 platforms a day. Um, you know, so it's very much a second job for me,
Yeah.
but we've been really successful with that. And it's also really helped to build community. It's helped to, you know, strengthen our relationships with a lot of the manufacturers. And now we've created a lot of partnerships with those manufacturers that really gives us a lot of flexibility and it gives us a lot of strength in the industry, especially in our local community. You know, when we're getting questions about products and like we work directly with all those manufacturers, reps, and upper management of those
Yeah.
companies, it makes it a lot harder or a lot easier rather to like deal with those conversations, you know?
I'd say that's been another really interesting thing when looking at the, you know, kind of the decking community, like how the manufacturers are so involved. Like, how would you say that's, you know, how has that kind of helped you? And, you know, obviously from 2021, you were just getting into it. I mean, like I would say you seem like you're well networked with all of them, you know, using all their products. I mean, I think they look at you
Yeah.
as a product expert, you know, from decorators to, you know, TimberTech to Fortress to, I mean, like, seems
Yeah.
like you're really well in tune with all of them. I mean, how did you get, you know, that so connected and kind of in that position with them, and how do you think that's helped your business?
Well, I mean, it all starts with just having conversations and showing your work, right? And
Yeah.
I think once you listen, these people walk a lot of job sites. They see a lot of projects. Like, you know, my relationship with decorators started by us building a project and the lumberyard had the reps. You know, one of the sales reps and one of the field specialists was just visiting the lumberyard, which happened to be 10 minutes away from the job site. And they
Hmm.
just gave them the address and were like, go look at this project. You have to see this, you know?
Huh.
So they just kind of showed up and said,
Interesting.
hey, you know, we're so and so or whatever. And like, you know, I mean, I'm very close with those guys, you
Yeah.
know, like we've helped each other build each other's brands,
Yeah.
right? Where, you know, those products became a staple in our projects and our projects became a staple in their product. You know, it's very much a mutual relationship when you work with these when you partner with these manufacturers. You know, they need content, and really, the builder, like when you are on social media and you have an authentic voice and you're very you know, you're very open with your projects and kind of show a lot from start to finish, people are very much going to want to seek advice from you because they know that you're really speaking the truth and that the products that you're using, you're holding to a very, very high standard.
Yeah.
You know, there's no products, although we may have partnerships and endorsement opportunities with other manufacturers, there's no products that we'll employ on our sites if they're not right for that project, if they're not of a high quality, if they're not of a high level warranty. You know, it always comes first. The project always comes first, you know. So it's really helped us probably. I'll just give an example is like, you know, we had a hang up today with some of our fasteners, something, you know, I had ordered some in from the distributor. They didn't hit the whatever. Like, I just called the manufacturer and said, can you overnight me some screws? so we can keep building, you know, because things do happen. Like we had
Yeah.
ordered them way back or whatever, and just they should have came in a long time ago, and stuff happen, things happen, right?
Yeah.
And that's just part of it. When you're like building with specialty products that you can't just go buy at the store,
Yeah.
like I can tell you for a fact, not a single dealer in New England has those screws, right? Because they're very specific. Um, but that it's nice to be able to just pick up the phone and go, hey, can you send me a box of screws? You know, 2 boxes and whatever. And they, you
Yeah.
know, can you overnight them? Um, I mean, how can you beat that, right?
Sure. Do you have challenges getting a lot of the materials that you need in your part of town, or is it or
No,
lumberyard's
no,
pretty well stocked?
yeah, it's never really a challenge. Like, so what I'll say is, you know, the lumberyard that I buy from has their decking distribution center about 5 miles from my house. So I'm very fortunate on decking
Yeah.
that I can usually easily within either a day or two, even if I need to transfer in, I can obtain my decking. Same thing, really, generally with fasteners. Nobody builds with steel in New England except for me. Now, that's kind of a vague, I'm overshooting a little bit, but pretty much
Sure.
nobody stocks Fortress. Nobody stocks self drilling, whether it be Fasten Master drillers or, you know, Captor XD, self drilling, screws, and they just don't. People, because people don't use, you know, people don't use Fortress steel out here that much. So,
So
you know,
how are you getting it? I mean, is it through that relationship with Fortress?
yeah, yeah.
Because
Or we can order it in. I mean, the distributors have it, you
yeah.
know. So there is, but other than that, I mean, we don't really build with any super crazy components. There's a lot of guys out there that do really, really like, you know, a lot of multicolored, like we do, we're very like monochromatic with our decking colors. We don't do a lot of like triple color picture frames and all that kind of stuff because we kind of want to draw more attention to like the details and the accents and like the trim detail, you know, that kind of stuff. Just kind of like more of like a more elegant presentation. New England is very like white trim, monochromatic, everything's gray, you know, like it's just a certain look up here that doesn't
Sure.
really that modern contemporary hasn't really moved in as thick as it has in some other parts of the country. So pretty basic stuff as
Yeah.
far as it goes for our you know, like decking color details and all that. It's all pretty basic, you know.
So I hear from a lot of deck builders that they, you know, in their part of town, like, you know, or their city or their location, like they struggle to get, you know, one of the, you know, manufacturers, you know, products or another, and like, you know,
Yeah,
what's your advice to them? I mean, obviously you've learned a lot about all the different
yeah,
product offerings out there, and you know, I've assumed probably attribute that to going to all the trade shows and the events. I mean, you know,
yeah.
I've seen you at JLC and Deck Expo and kind of, you know, a lot of different, you know, local events. I mean, is that, you know, how do you help manage that if you're struggling to
Well,
get the materials in your
here's
area?
here's the thing is you either have stocking dealers or you have special order dealers. And then there's another layer of that when the special order actually has to get called in from the manufacturer to the distributor. If you land yourself in one of those, and I know what situations those are for me,
Yeah.
I know that there's two different types of special orders, right? So the people that have a lot of problem getting decked, they say, oh, it takes 3 weeks to get that in, it takes 5 weeks to get. Well, that's because the distributor doesn't have it on the ground,
Yeah.
you know? And, you know, I am somewhat fortunate in some forms and less fortunate in others. There's certain products that we use that are manufacturer special order. And those are going to take a lot longer to get because they literally are calling, you know, the lumber yard orders it through the distributor. They put in a purchase order. The distributor has to put in a purchase order with the manufacturer. That has to get shipped out to the distributor, and then the distributor has to ship to lumberyard, and the lumberyard has to deliver to you. And that's pretty much, if you go to the box store and you order a high-end deck board, that's what's happening, right? Is they don't have that in distribution. They're going to get it. They're going to special order that from the manufacturer as a job, as a job pack. So we try to avoid those situations.
Yeah.
And usually that comes down to is like, if your lumberyard is not working with a distributor who stocks that brand, it's going to be, unless you can change that, and
Yeah.
I'll admit, like, we have enough buying power that we've been able to make requests for certain items to be brought into stock. Like, we're ordering this is the railing that we use. We ordered X amount of it this year. Can you please just bring in a lift of each size?
Yeah.
And then I go in and they're all out of it. And I'm like, what happened? We brought in 2 lifts. And they said, we had a sale last month. They sold out of it. Well, that makes sense. There
Yeah.
you go. So, but those relationships are pretty high level, right? Like purchasers of the lumberyards and distributors. So like next week, this week, Wednesday, we'll be at LBM at the Mohegan Sun, which is like NRLA. It's the Lumber Association, right? So it's the Lumber and Building Material Show. And it used to be just dealers and buyers, but now they let contractors in there. I don't really know why. So we attend, kind of lets me,
Yeah.
get in there with all the buyers and everything and talk about products. But yeah, it's a trade show, pretty much. So, but that is the place where things like that happen, right?
Yeah.
Where the buyers, the distributors, and the dealers all chat about what type of products they're going to bring in, which ones are going to be, stocking or not, or special order. And those things can be tricky, man. And that's so really, to answer the question, it's like, if you don't have a better option out there, you're probably better off sticking with the brands that the distributor stocks that are just like 3-day special order and not 3-week,
Sure.
because that's a hard life to do that job in, job out. It's difficult.
So let's talk about labor. Like, your field guys, are they full-time employees? Are they subcontractors?
Yeah.
How do you manage all the work?
So I just kind of had a vision for this company, and I wanted it to be a certain way, and I wanted to build a culture, which I've never really been a part of in a construction company. So I kind of tried to bring some of the culture from like working in like a management role or like for like a big giant startup. And as much as that doesn't really make all that much sense, like I feel so like my guys are all on salary.
Yeah.
They all get generous paid holidays. They get so 401k match, really generous health insurance, whatever it is that I can offer them,
Oh.
clothing, summer, winter, fall, spring, gear, boots, whatever it is that I can offer them, right? Snacks, drinks on at all times, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've just never really had. And it's insane. You work in an office building, like so you're in an office right now.
Yep.
You got like a kitchenette in there?
Oh yeah. Right there.
If I was hungry, could I go grab a snack?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're out working. It's 20 degrees out. My guys need to be able to go get a cup of coffee in the trailer. Yeah. It's incredible that is like the normal in like a white collar role, but like non-existent in blue collar.
So true, man.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you're doing something different about it.
Yeah, like when we first set up this trailer, because we used to have snacks and stuff, but when we first set up this last trailer, like last year, I was like pumped on it. I spent like $500 on like, hey, just jerky and Keurigs and whatever I could, anything I could fit in that thing.
Yeah.
Microwave meals, whatever it is. And the stuff gets eaten.
Yep.
And we don't, it's not like we like rely on that for lunch every day, but it's in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so yeah, so I try to create, and I mean it's just a really good example. And I'm not here to brag, but like I brought my whole team to Deck Expo in Vegas, right? We got the new vehicles and the new trailer and the dump wrapped. So we got a few vehicles wrapped while we were gone. And like I knew they weren't going to be done when we got back. So our trip to Expo and then rest of the week off at home. And then the following week was Thanksgiving. And it viciously rained the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So we worked 2 days in 2 weeks and everybody got paid.
Yeah.
I can't, it's like I feel responsible for these people's families, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know though, like in your company, right? If you took everybody to a trade show and you got back and whatever, the power was out at the office or something, you're not going to dock their pay.
No.
You know what I mean? It's just crazy. Nobody runs a construction
Yeah.
company like that they have a responsibility to the people's families. And I feel like when you do that, it changes. It changes, and like that's what I talk about is I'm trying to create employees that have a stake in the game, that have dreams that'll fit inside what we're doing, you know? And I just, it's like if their goal is to get to a certain place so they can leave, then you have a problem.
Yeah.
And not that everybody, listen, some people are just born to fly, you know? But for the ones that are with me because they don't want to deal with everything else and they just want to be in a company that treats them well and we build badass projects and we travel and you know, there's like there's some perks to it, right?
Yeah,
Guys get
absolutely.
tools, they get clothes, they get whatever they, sometimes they just want some. I'll get you that. You know what I mean? I'll message them and see if they'll send us some. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they will. So there's perks to it, but that's really important, right? Is that we create a place that people want to be.
Yeah.
There's still going to be hard days. We're still everybody, we're all human. There's going to be tempers sometimes. There's going to be hard projects. There's going to be hard days, but there's going to be good days and we're going to laugh a lot. And so that's what, for me, I am trying to create that culture that makes people want to be involved.
Dude, I love it, man. That's at the end of the day, it's I think every business owner's number one role is to build the best possible team that you can. And when you get those guys on there and gals, like you got to make sure that the culture, is going to keep them there, because you're going to invest
Right.
so much time and money and effort into like, training them and kind of, developing them to be
Yep.
that ideal employee for you. But like, if you do all that and then they just can walk away, you're that's so much more costly than you can imagine versus if you can really give them the things that they need to stay productive and to stay happy and to stay I mean in your
Yep.
case stay warm like that's gonna just those small little things that really do add up to quality of life. It makes it a good place for them to work and they're gonna appreciate you for it. And even if it didn't cost you, but you said $500 to fill the whole trailer with a bunch of snacks and goodies, like man, that goes so far. That buys you so
Yeah.
much goodwill. It shows that you care about them.
For me, it's the winter gear is probably the most valuable purchase I make in overhead for the whole year.
Yeah.
Throw the machines out, throw all the tools out, whatever. That winter gear puts those guys in comfortability from 7 a.m. on.
Hmm.
You dress them right. You put everybody, we all look the same, like it's like
Yeah.
part of our company attire,
Yeah.
padded knees, insulated, breathable, ventable, like the right gear to be in the weather. And nobody's dragging
Yeah.
every morning. And they're not, it's hard to crouch down when it's 20 degrees out and, or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's not that cold here right now. Today was like 50. But regardless, like when I started doing that, like we have real gear. Everybody
Yeah.
has it. So like if it like we can work in the rain when it's 35 degrees and like, yeah, nobody wants to do it, but like we'll be fine,
Sure.
you know? But it's the attitude too. Like when you supply that and they're like, your guys are just like, dude, these are so nice. Like, thank you so much. And I'm like, yeah, no
Mhm.
problem. Like, I'm glad that it's like 4 hours later,
Yeah.
man, these are incredible, and it's like because nobody else has ever done that for them.
Sure.
And the boss probably had all the best gear that you could ever have.
Yeah.
He's stomping around in some $700 Canada Goose jacket because he's not swinging a hammer. But here we are, we're all in the same gear and everybody's, outfitted so it makes a world of difference.
Yeah.
It
So
just,
I'm sure you've even all the gear, like, I'm sure you've had issues, with some of your guys from time to time. Like, how do you handle, holding them accountable, and, just anytime you've had to do disciplinary, type measures? I mean, how does that look for you?
yeah, I mean, honestly, I've had it pretty easy. We have had to do some disciplinary measures. For me, I think that I can be an offender as well. So I can very easily talk to people in a way that I don't see it from the outside, but from the other side,
Yeah.
it's not okay.
You're
Right.
you're in the trenches with them, so you've got
Yeah.
their respect.
So
You
I
can,
can be sharp,
yeah,
because I'm very matter of fact and I'm very honest and I'm very open. So I can use that as a weapon. So I'll tell you, we kind of have a real flexible type of attitude on site because I'm not the one um that's going to discipline people when I can be offender of something as well.
sure,
And I feel like there has to be everybody's going to have their days where they're just kind of not with it and they're not in the mood or they have something going on or whatever. So, I've kind of learned from having other experiences where, somebody's dealing with something and you might go after them on something that is happening, but really you don't really know what's going on,
yeah,
and maybe you just have to kind of give them you know, instead of coming down on them for something that's happening, is just say, hey, can we have a conversation about this? How, what's going on? How is everything going? And try to actually get to the root of it, or just let them deal with it and not kind of be intrusive on what they have going on.
sure,
But we've had, for me, it's reliability. And I tell these guys this because if you're 15 minutes early on a construction site, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you're fired. We've built a company that we show up every day at the same time. If you're not down with that, it's not going to work. Right. I don't do get out of bed calls. I don't do, whatever that looks like. So that's been probably in some of our other roles that we no longer have, that has been an issue, right? Is reliability. Because for me, that's like the most important thing to me when I'm trying
yeah,
to train guys, is that we have this company image where everybody shows up like, we have these reviews, right? Where they're like a SWAT team. You could set your watch to them, and like
yeah,
that's so important to me,
yeah.
you know? Um, but really, like, we've had employees that struggle with that reliability and they don't anymore. Now I can
Awesome.
set my watch to them,
It's
you
awesome, man.
know? And these are guys that used to say, boss, I'll work harder. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that when we have discussions about stuff. And I go, you don't have to work any harder. Just show up on time. Like, you work your ass off.
Yeah,
That's your quality is not the issue. Your work ethic, like you're so focused, like that's not the issue. It's just be reliable.
yeah,
And like they're reliable now. I don't have to worry about that with them. You know what I mean? So there's, you know, I mean, as a business owner, you have to protect yourself. When things happen, it's really a good idea to document them. And we've done that. But luckily, we've been able to do that kind of without there having to be ego or attitude involved with that, and just say, look, this is the way we have to do it. This is how it goes.
yeah.
Let's just move forward.
So what would you say has been the biggest, like, struggle that you've had in building this business? Like, what? What's the thing that's been the hardest challenge that you've had to overcome or you're currently overcoming?
Um, for sure, it's been employee retainment, or really just talent acquisition, right? Has been the
Yeah.
hardest because I mean, if you talked to me last year, like I was looking to scale. If you talked to me the year before, I was looking to scale. And we've scaled way up on revenue, but have just held on company size, on employment, you know? And I don't think like that anymore. Like I'm not trying to double the company.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to double revenue with the same company that we have. And that's pretty much what we did this year. Like we grew it by 50% and we didn't add any employees. Um, but that's pretty hard, right? If I really needed like to hire another guy tomorrow, like it's really hard to find one. You
Yeah.
know, we're not, because I'm looking for guys that are interested in culture, that have attention to detail, that are reliable, that have certain skill sets, you know, and it's a big investment to try to grow those like as a farm team. And you know, that's pretty much where we've landed now. It's like, all right, we're not hiring any more 30-year masters of carpentry who are just going to let us down for a week and then not show up, you
Yeah.
know. We've tried that 5 times, you know, and at this point, like we just had a young kid start last week that just didn't fit at all.
Hmm.
He knew he didn't fit. He didn't, you know, it just was one of those kind of situations where it was like I didn't throw him off the job, but I kind of, you know, let's see if he digs in. You
Yeah.
know, I can train anybody, but like let's see if he digs in, because it's that for me. You
Yeah.
know, if somebody really wants to learn it and wants to excel, I'll be patient with them, you know. But it didn't work. And it's like we were talking about it today, me and my guys. They said
Yeah.
we're just three's the number, man.
So where do you want to take the company? What's the vision for the next, 5, 10 years? Where do you want to see Raven Builders?
Well, I'm more interested in vertically integrating and creating more companies in the, you know, in a cooperating space, and keep this one boutique right where it is.
Nice.
You know, maybe expand a little bit. Like I've you know, we've done a couple of like near close travel jobs, you know, and I've always kind of, you know, considered like if we were like that boutique niche company that would like do high level, high profile, you know, we did a couple of those this year where we traveled to go build high profile jobs at a really high value. And you know, you don't have to be 30 crews to make a living in this industry, you know.
Yep.
And I if I've learned anything, it's really not like mo money mo problems, it's mo employees mo problems. If you really want to get down to it, right? The money
Yep.
isn't the problem, right? It's the teams. It's you know, it's the guidelines. It's human resources. That's
Yep.
what where the problems come from. You know, it's I can sub out the accounting and the bookkeeping and all that kind of stuff and, you know, raise up leaders, but for me, I've been doing this for a really long time. I have 20 years left, you know. I just want to create something that I can be comfortable in and be challenged in, and you know, and really be successful, right? But for us, it looks like some other companies that are going to be vertically integrated into what we do, you know. So in the outdoor space, in the living space, and then obviously, you know, we're doing a lot of marketing now on the other end. So really leveraging social media and kind of creating a lot of opportunity on that side. Um, which comes with a lot of fun, a lot of travel, a lot of stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
So it's been an exciting year for us. So we'll be entering some projects in Nadra. Hopefully we can bring home, you know, another piece of paper from them, and just really, you know, I guess this year for us, it was a big growth year that the company didn't grow. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah.
You know, and I like
Company size, like number of employees didn't grow, but revenue
revenue
doubled.
grew, you know, efficiency grew, quality grew, Relationships, partnerships grew. So like that's, for me, um, that's kind of what I'm keyed in on right now is just like strengthening all those ends and just creating a company that I don't, that I can come home at 4 o'clock and be done.
Sure.
I don't want a 70-hour a week job running a company.
Yeah.
I know guys that build 1,000 decks a year. He works 100 hours a week.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can go ahead. People tell you, oh, well, you can hire people to do all that. Yeah, good luck. You know what I
How,
mean?
how do you, you talk about kind of success, to you, what does success look like? How do you measure it? How do you determine if you're successful or not?
People. Who's in your corner? Money has nothing to do with success. I have money and I've been in a situation with, I've been in the high paying role where I'm just buried in the work and have all the money, but am miserable.
Yeah.
No level of economic success can equate to being happy. It just
Sure.
doesn't. So for me, if the business is successful, that the our business is successful because our clients choose our business before they get a price. You know, we win our jobs before we quote them.
It's awesome.
We're very successful, and we, 5-star reviews. We build personal relationships with a lot of our clients. We become, we become friends with them, you know? So, same thing with our community. Like we're becoming a staple in our community and we're contributing to that community in ways other than providing our products, building projects. So, you know, I mean, and then we get to, I have the opportunity to help other people with their businesses in this trade via social media, via phone calls, via emails, where we, discuss building concepts, marketing plans, whatever it may be, social
Yeah.
media, however I can add value to the industry. And this is the company that's put me in that role that I'm able to add value. We're able to get to a point where we can start to help the community and youth see a life in the trades that's worth living, you
Yeah.
know, that, it's just so important. So we, I, if anything, like, yeah, we build badass projects and we get great reviews and the customers love us. But when I get home and I get a message from someone just saying how much I've helped them with their business, how incredible it is for me to share everything that we share and like how grateful they are that I take the time to do it,
Yeah.
like that's the hit.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I
That's the
think
hit.
I think that's
So
one thing for, for anyone out there who's not following you on Instagram, like, you've got a phenomenal, Instagram page, your social media. I mean, you can tell that you take the time to not just create any content. You're creating valuable content that is educational. It's raw, it's real. You're teaching people how to use the tools. You're teaching people, how to think, how to analyze situations. And like, I mean, I've learned a tremendous amount from you, Kevin, both from your Instagram and social media, but also just we've been to a lot of events together. The thing that really strikes me about you is you're not the guy that's going to sit back and bark orders and watch everybody else get the work done. You're the first guy to dive in, pick up the board, pick up the hammer, and just get to work. And you lead by example. And that's something that, like, it's, we don't have enough leaders like you this day. And I really appreciate everything that you do to try to help others, be able to learn, because, like you said, I mean, your biggest challenge is finding workers. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to motivate and inspire and educate the youth, because they are the future generation of workers here. And you're just such a testament to, hey, you don't have to, be the guy sitting in the corner office running the business operations to have a great career and to enjoy
right.
your life. You're down in the trenches next to your teammates, happy as could be, to be part of a team of a bunch of rock stars who are delivering high quality product, and you're leading the charge there, and you're loving what you do every day because you're building awesome products and you're making your customers happy. Like, that's what everybody needs to see and they need to understand is like, you can either be on the business side or you can be on the product delivery side. Whichever one suits your fancy is good for you, but go find your passion and go do that,
Yeah. Yeah. And it really kind of speaks to like one of those kind of values that my team gets out of the social media side is like not only like when I bring them to a show and everybody's like, oh my God, we love, they just get it the whole time,
Yeah.
right? Which they're never really on the end of that. So
Yeah.
they think it's incredible, right? But the other thing is when we're on site, I let them be creative and like join in the fun, right? Where we're doing something or somebody will make a joke and I'm like, oh, that's funny. Let's set up the camera and do this and that and we'll film it. Like as far as nothing that we do for like construction based or techniques or like process is staged. Like we just film real time while we're working. But
Yeah.
obviously when we're going to do like a skit with like a Happy Gilmore audio or something, like it's just something we're laughing about. And I'm like, oh, film it,
Yeah.
and the guys have a blast with it. Like they think it's so funny. So do I. We're usually laughing for hours after filming things,
I think you'd be awesome to work with on the daily. So
Fun.
you got a cool thing, great culture,
Yeah.
great team
We
going.
have
So
fun.
man, just kind of in wrapping up here. I mean, thinking about everybody else out there who maybe is still on the tools but wants to maybe own their own business, start their own business, like, or again, we got tons of remodelers on JobTread that I know a lot of them are very interested in getting into the deck building side. Like, kind of what advice do you have for them? What if there was anything that you wish you would have known 3 years ago when you started your business, like what would it be?
You got to start with a vision. You got to start with a vision, and you have to. If you're already self-employed, or if you're going to become self-employed, you need to start a business, not a job. You know, I think so many guys in the trades get stuck in that sole proprietor, full liability, no, really like no payroll designation or expenses, really have no idea what's going on with their numbers. And they're pretty much just cashing checks and paying their bills, and they have a job, not a
Yeah.
business, But if you start with the vision and you seek advice and educate yourself on how to run a business and you're a talented tradesman, then you can be really successful. You know, it's and I was in my younger years, I was stuck in that for a long time, right? It's like in my early 20s, you know, I would tell you that I own my own business, but I really didn't, I just was a self-employed subcontractor and did jobs for homeowners, but I would price a job on how much I think was the most I could get for that job instead of how much it costs to run my business plus material plus labor plus profit, and that's what the number is.
Yeah.
So once you figure all that out, then you have a business, with a margin, and you get paid, so it helps to have a vision though, because we had a vision and we're achieving and excelling and really blowing the thing out, month over month. So it just creates a place where people want to be a part of, you know,
Yeah.
to like achieve that vision.
I love it, man. I mean, it's crystal clear from my perspective that you've had a vision and you have put it into action and are building a phenomenal company. And I want to again thank you for everything that you're doing to help elevate the community as a whole and help others, also be able to be successful. Because rising tide lifts all boats. Like we can all be in this together. We can all win together. It doesn't do anybody any good to just kind of watch other people fail. Like let's try to everyone do better. And I think you lead by example, and it's been really fun to watch you grow, and I can't wait to see where the next several years go for you, because I think it's you're on a really great path and doing a great job. And yeah, just appreciate the opportunity to have you on here and for you to share, from your perspectives, some of the challenges and some of your advice, because, I think it's going to really help others, hopefully follow in suit.
I appreciate it, Eric. And I got to shout you guys out because you're a pioneer and your whole team they just grind it out. And I've never seen a company more dedicated to serving their community. Like, I don't even want to call it your clients. I think you've created a community within your software. So, just hats off, man, for what you guys are achieving and really putting us in a position to elevate our business in an organized manner. So a lot of our success is probably assisted by the technology that you've provided us and that you keep really just making better on a daily basis. So hats off to you, brother.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
It's
man.
good seeing you, Kevin.
Yeah, you too.
All right, thanks.
See you, bud.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Builder Stories. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained valuable insights that can help you in your journey along the way. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave us a review. And as always, if you or someone you know has a story to share, please contact us at builderstories.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Eric Fortenberry, and remember, every builder has a unique story. Keep building yours.